As many of you know, I enjoy reading accounts of people that have near death experiences. I just read one on TikTok that reminded me, and I really felt it in my spirit. So I thought I would share it with you. When the man, he was a fire captain, and I guess he was in a fire and he died temporarily. And he was explaining, as so many of the people who have had NDEs do, is he became this huge, full balloon of energy. He said a balloon, and he saw people, he felt loved, he said he felt like he was being doused with honey. It was just such a beautiful feeling, and I just felt, oh man, that just sounds so amazing. And this is very common. There are some differences, but it's a very common story. And I thought, and he made a comment. He said, we came here into this limited, you realize when you come from all knowing, like he said, if he would, when he was in his near death experience, he said he would think about, he put his focus on a topic, and all of the information, he said it was like those microfiche in the library back in the old days when it was all the information would just come rushing in, and it was just like instant. And I thought, why would someone who had such an eternal, powerful, all-knowing sense of life want to come into this space and time? And from what I've heard, it's still something I'm processing. From what I've heard, it's to almost reduce our ability. Well, this is the analogy I came up with. It's like having a relationship with someone, and it's like a new romantic relationship. And you say, we're going to go on a 3-month trip around the world together, and we're really going to see if we can make it through this, we can make it anywhere. In a sense, it's a test to see if if their love is true, or if they're really meant to be together, or if it's just a fling of convenience or whatever. And I thought that's really analogous to perhaps the story I'm currently entertaining, is that from this sense of eternal knowing, we came into this place. It's almost like saying, I'm going to send you out into the middle of the Death Valley with only, the limited tools. And it's like this, it's almost like it's this challenging, can I do it? Can I still be a kind, loving person? Can I still remember who I am? Isn't that it? It's like, can I still remember who I am if I am in such a dire, restricted environment? And I think from that eternal vantage point, coming into physical life is like this fitness course, or it's like this challenge, or and we want to do it. And I do believe we get to kind of choose the parameters of how we come. But the thing that always amazes me is how utterly and completely we forget who we are, at least intellectually. And then I remembered what Abraham said, is that your inner being is that spark of the divine that's still within you. That is basically your essence. And when we grow up, some of us get it beaten out of us. I don't care what you think, you do what I say. And we learn to listen to everyone else except ourselves. And then we wonder why our lives are so difficult, because we learned at a young age to discount, to ignore that little spark inside. And then we get older, we're like, I don't know what to do. And it does come back to just reacquainting ourselves with the spark inside, because the spark inside is like it's our connection to our divine. It's our connection to our divine self, which is our true self. But isn't it weird how when we're in this life, this seems so, haircuts this weekend. It seems so real. It seems like if I'm here thinking about my life, if I'm here thinking about the meaning of life, what is the spiritual me thinking about? Or what am I doing? Like Abraham will say, oh, you might be off doing other things in other places. But I'm like, but I don't know. But they don't tell me about that. Like this world, when we come into this reality, it becomes like, it almost feels like it's the only reality. And everyone here is like, no, this is what's real. This is what's important. This is what's eternal. But then every time you read or hear about somebody who's been into non-physical and then come back, they're always, almost 90% of the people don't want to come back. They don't, they go, I'm finally home. Why would I go back there? And this man was saying today that he saw himself as a person, his personality, his ego, his preferences, his likes. It was like, oh, I've been playing that character. I've been playing that character. And it was like, oh, I have to go play that. It's like being a little kid who's very, wants to be in the school play, and they say, okay, you're going to be the tree. And he's like, well, what are my lines? It's like, no lines, just be the tree. And it's like, oh man, that seems like I'm just going to have to, that's such a small, I'm so small. And so much of life is that we believe it's real. We believe it's true. We believe it's really important. We believe that these things are life and death. And in a way they are. Because our divine essence is displaying itself in very dire circumstances, very difficult circumstances. And that gives our divine sense wants to come into this challenging environment in order to cause itself to expand and to become more loving and more kind and more present in difficult situations, in difficult circumstances. And that's why more often than not, people that have really found some spiritual truth in life, we find out they've been through very difficult situations. And that is because when life gets so difficult, you start to believe that maybe it's a game. Maybe it's like when we care and we worry and we try so hard and then things go to shit, we're like, maybe it's not about caring and worrying and trying. Maybe it's about allowing and remembering and breathing and abiding and knowing and walking outside and hearing the birds in the trees singing and singing along with them and singing along with all creation. And maybe things aren't so urgent and dire and important, and maybe we've come to bring light into all aspects of life. And those people who are doing the dark, evil, difficult, heinous things, they've forgotten who they are so much that maybe they'll never remember until they expire, till they die. But that doesn't affect us, because we're still here to share and love. We're here to prove who we really are. We're here to show our true essence, our true knowing, our true je ne sais quoi, our true beingness. And that can only be tested under testing situations. In non-physical, I don't know, but from what I've heard, everything's very immediate and very right now, and very you can if you think it, you can have it. But when we come here, we have to. It forces us to reconfigure. It forces us to question and ask, what's life really about? Meaning, who am I really? Who am I? What am I really about? And I guess that's best done when everybody else has forgotten, except everyone has the little spark, right? Everyone has that little spark. They know that love feels better than hate. Everybody knows that kindness feels better than meanness. Everybody knows that hugging feels better than punching. And yet we might not know what that means, but we know that smiling at someone is a better feeling than frowning at someone. We all know that fundamentally. Now, we can interpret that. What does that mean? What does that... But even when we say, oh, I have the right to feel angry about this, it's like, yes, you do, but feeling anger is not who you are, so you're missing the point. The point is, can I find love for myself, right, and others in the midst of this dark and difficult and... Now, of course, life isn't all dark and difficult. Someone could equally make a video about how life is wonderful and great, and that but that's my point is they've probably practiced thinking that life is wonderful and great so much that now they truly believe it. And some people say that thinking that they'll convince themselves that life is great because they're not so sure, but if I say it enough, I'll convince myself. Sometimes that works. Usually it doesn't. But it really has me thinking and realizing that it's all about how much can I love, how much can I breathe and remember who I am. Because no one is living and hurting other people that's not hurting as, I can't say even more, but hurting as much inside. Because the whole phrase, the saying, hurt people, but it means disconnected people react disconnectedly with disconnected people. And it's all about remembering who we are. It's not about playing the game. It's not about proving our worth. It's not about being known or being famous or being seen or being a good father or good, because all that stuff is going to be all the things we think that life is important. That like, oh, I want my children to be, I want my legacy and all that. Some of it might be important, but in the large scale of things, it's going to be like, that was a character that I played in a play. I was a Shakespeare actor in a Hamlet. You're not thinking it's like when we get to non-physical, we're going to see that this was kind of a game. It was meaning nothing. Abraham always says nothing serious going on here. So can I love myself today? Can I remember that it's all about feeling good? It's all just remembering that people who are angry and spiteful people are sad. They're in pain. And if we can respond to that aspect of them more than the words that they're saying, which is easier said than done, then we're truly helping them remember. Like, can you imagine looking at someone who's spewing like, I can't believe, get out of here, and going, and although it's a little bit theatrical in the moment to say it, but to go, I can see that you're really in a lot of pain, my friend. And to be able to look at someone that might be our quote enemy, even though that's just a made up term, and go, wow, you forgot who you are. And can you imagine feeling a kind of sadness when you see how much someone has forgotten their beauty, instead of because they're a jerk or, oh, you're such a jerk. Like, why are you crying? Because you're so much more than this. But that sounds a bit like esoteric and like I'm better than you. We got to realize that for ourselves, right? First, that I'm okay. I'm a divine creature. I came here because I wanted to expand. I came here. I chose to come here because I wanted to become a more evolved human. I wanted to learn how to love more. I wanted to learn how to care more. I wanted to use my creativity, whatever. And so give myself a break, yo. Give myself a break. Give everyone a break. Everyone's doing the best they can, especially if they don't even know what the game is. Especially the people that think this is real. This is life and death. This is so important. It's a play. All the world's a stage, and we are merely actors in it. I think Shakespeare said that. So that's what I'm thinking. I think you got my point. I think you maybe picking up what I'm putting down a little bit. Remember who you are. I know who you are. Remind your friends who they are. That's a great gift we can give each other. Kisses.